Now that we know how to make basic plots, we can move on to producing multiple graphs, be it lines or sets of points, within the same figure, so the same graph. And this is very simple, and there are actually two ways to do it. So one way is that you can use the plot command just once, and within that plot command you specify what you're plotting and in what style you want each of those. So let's start with this, and then we move on to that alternative. So we would like to plot three functions. So actually a function, and then its derivative and second derivative. So our x is ranging from -2 to 4. And then our function 3 times x power 3. Remember the dot for the power, minus 26x plus 6 times x plus 6. Also remember, always put the times. In math we don't really have to. When you write on paper you can just write 26x, but of course here we do have to pronounce it that we are actually multiplying. And then we have the first derivative. So you have 9x squared minus 26. 9 times x squared minus 26. And then the second derivative, 18 times x. Okay, so we have three lines, the y, yd, and ydd, and all of them have the same set of x arguments. So the x didn't have to be defined as three separate values. Okay, so we use the plot. I'll make a figure plot, and now what we do is specify one by one what we're plotting and in what style. And in this case, we don't have this option that I can just say that I plot y with some style, then yd with a style. I do have to give also x arguments. So I want the first one to be, let's see what we had in here, blue line. So since it's a blue line, I can just say it's blue. Then I want to plot x and yd. And I want it to be dashed red line. And finally x and ydd should be dotted black line. Okay, so it's already, and let's run. So there it is. We have three different functions plotted within the same graph. So what could go wrong? As I said, in this case, if you use your plot command once and then you list all of them inside what you're plotting, you have to give x arguments. If you forget it for at least one of your functions, then you'll get an error saying data must be a single matrix Y or a list of pairs. So now MATLAB is demanding that we give those x the respective pair for our Y. All right, now the very same thing can be achieved by actually calling plot command 3 times, for instance, or it could be 2, but 3 in this case, that we plot each pair, so xy, xyd, and xydd, we plot each of those separately. The thing is that we will have to hold the contents of the previous plot. So what does it mean? I'll actually use this one, it will be faster with the typing. So we have our first line there, then we have our second one, and the third one. So now what happens here is that if I plot it like that, MATLAB will overwrite. So what will happen is that first it plots that, but immediately I ask it to plot this, so it kind of wipes out from that figure that first line. It draws the second one, but again immediately wipes it out and plots the third one. So in that case we are only seeing that last line on the graph. So what I have to do is say hold on in here. So that means that MATLAB will keep what has been plotted before and keep adding things. And it will keep adding until you tell it hold off. Now, if you're not planning to plot anything else in here, then you proceed to next figure. You don't actually have to hold it off. But in some bigger projects, there might be that you want to see some content and then you want to hold it off and then see new content. So in this case, hold off here. It's okay to put it, but you don't need to. In this case, it's actually not necessary. All right, and there's actually one more way to, or at least one more way to add those 3 lines in one graph. What I can do is I can combine my 3 lines into one matrix, and I'll make it oriented as columns. So my y, I'll call the matrix D, and I'll put in there my y vector transposed, so now it's a column, then the yd vector transposed, so it's a column, and ydd transposed as well. So now that means that my D matrix, let's run just this small piece. You see it's a column of 3 vectors. It's a matrix having 3 columns. So now if I do in here figure and I plot x, I still want my x-axis to be located correctly, but then I give D as the data I'm plotting. What will happen is that MATLAB will actually plot all those 3 in there, and it will automatically give it different colors. The styles are still the default solid line, but the colors are already, MATLAB understands that these are 3 different contents, so they should be given in 3 different colors, at least to be easily distinguished. And that's it. That's all the magic when it comes to plotting multiple lines within one figure window.